Of all the legendary names in mud bogging, those in the Outer Banks area like to make a home in the sandy soils at Little Doo. Up next, we pound the sand as we pile through a pride of four-wheel faithful. We have had the fortune here in 2022 to bring you a lot of different kind of action. We've seen mud bogs already this year, but this is going to be a little bit different. A very sandy pit here at the legendary Little Doo Mud Bog. Buddy Scotty McNamara giving us the invite to come down and check things out at the season finale event here in Newport, North Carolina. We're going to be bringing you 7 different classes of action here today. From fast trucks to heavy trucks to powerful trucks to light trucks. You're going to see a little bit of everything and everything in between. So we're going to open things up with the Super Renegade class. Any motor size goes. Single carb, no aluminum blocks. Engine must be within 6 inches of the stock location. Now we'll see 2 other Renegade classes, small and big tire Renegade, that don't allow power adders. The Super Renegade class, they do allow power adders. First up, look at the Lone Ranger, Ronnie Lee Garner out of Newport, North Carolina. Loyal Little Doo participant since the early 90s. See what he has to open things up here in the Super Renegade. We're getting a real good look at the pit right there. He runs a 3.914 to set the stage. I know we'll have some runs faster than that, but not bad as he stays up on top of some very sandy mud. We're down here near the Outer Banks. You can tell, getting that beach sand mixed in with the muck down the bottom of that pit. It gets very deep. It may not look like it yet, but when we get to some of the slower classes, you'll see. Up next, Jeremy Smith, also out of Newport, North Carolina. This is still no problem. Taking a wild ride down through there at a 3.390. He had to pedal it a couple times, but still picks up the pace. Betters the time by about 2/10 on that run. Look at him getting sideways right there, pointing at the near side bank. Giving a thrill to the people grilling up on the hill now as Chris Keaton out of Ballantine, South Carolina rolls out in this beautiful Ford step-side Resurrection. Still speeding things up, 3.278 to move to the number 1 spot. Chris Keaton with a beautiful pass. The Shortways Ford doing a nice job. This is a vehicle I was looking at in the pits a little bit earlier, and it looked like it would get down and move on this track. He just floated over that sandy mud. As you can see, even with the trucks floating on top, the pit is starting to rut out, and that will get worse as the day goes on and the water mixes in. Here comes Gavin McRoy out of Palmetto, South Carolina. A vehicle called Purple Haze. Picks the ruts. See if it works for him.
All right, Gavin, let's see what you got.
Kind of riding the edge of the ruts there. 3.390, so he matches Jeremy Smith in his first pass here of the day. They will run 2 passes with the 5 trucks we have here. It'll be a total of 10 passes in the class. You can see he gets on the edge of those ruts as he picks up the left front with the torque of the engine. A nice job for Gavin McRoy out of Palmetto, South Carolina. Now, Jay Leach, pretty in pink. Vehicle well capable of taking a victory here, going after a 3.278. Getting bounced around. He was going after a 3.278, and he matches it with another 3.278. loyal Little Doo participant right here in this beautiful pink square body Chevrolet. He actually got down in there and dug, and that might have helped him. Getting the front end up and the rear wheels down as the pit starting to take a little punishment in there after the first 5 passes of the day. Coming back to the line now, Ronnie Lee Garner in the Lone Ranger. Family has been coming here since the early 90s.
Hi, Ronnie Lee, what you got, man?
3.74, so he's not going to better the top time, but he did better his own as he ran a 391 in the first session. And it looks like they're really digging that starting line out. He picked the ruts as well, trying to kind of stay down the middle there. Doing a nice job. They haven't created any cattywampus ruts in that pit yet, but we'll see as the day goes on. Remember, this is just the first class. Here comes Still No Problem, and look at that. What did I say? That starting line is getting dug out already.
All right, let's do it.
We got some about 8-inch deep ruts on the start. Jeremy Smith getting bucked around, still runs at 3.20 with a 5. Jeremy Smith, watch him again, watch the rear end plant. And that hurt him for sure. The rear end came back up off of the pit, so he wasn't digging with the 4-wheel drive there. He had the front wheels planted, but the rear wheels were all over the place. He's definitely going to be looking for a little more. He does, however, go into the number 1 spot as Chris Keaton comes back out in Resurrection. 3.23 with a 6, so he's going to go into the number 2 spot with that run. 3.23 with a 6 for Chris Keaton. Again, that'll move him into the number 2 spot, right behind Jeremy Smith, who just took that wild run to move into the lead. So if you can get the horsepower planted even past the finish line, if you can get the speed up and keep it on top all the way to the other end, you should be in good shape. But you got to make a move quick now as Purple Haze, Gavin McRoy comes out. See what he can do here. Fans look on, the ear protection. The noise here is just immense as it echoes through the hollows back here in Newport. Moved over to the far right-hand side of the pit to see if it would help him. Came back across to the left for a 3.23 with a 7. Only 1/10,000th off of the number 2 spot right now, so that will put him in 3rd for the moment. 3.23 with a 7, and you can see he moves back across to the left, but it did help him stay out of trouble. He's not riding in everyone's ruts again. Look at how far down they drop when they come into stage as Jay Leach comes out to close out the class in Pretty in Pink. 3.20 with a 5 is the time he's going after. He does it. He gets it done. The Jacksonville, North Carolina Chevrolet, a 3.18 with a 7. Awesome ride for the big bad Chevy from Jacksonville. Get another look at it. One of those interesting schemes in the class. Look at him dig in. He stayed right in those ruts. Started to get out of about half track and then found another set. Just moved over to the right a little bit, but he kept the speed up. We'll take a look at the final standings here. Jay at number 1 with a 3.18 with a 7. Jeremy in the Still No Problem Chevrolet 3.20 with a 5. Chris Keaton at a 3.23 with a 6. Purple Haze, Gavin McRoy 3.23 with a 7. And Lone Ranger rounding out the field. Stay with us. More to come from Newport.
This Back Channel Productions program is brought to you in part by Monsters Monthly. For up-to-date info, media, and all your other Monster Truck needs, visit monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For a look inside the world of monster trucks, check out Crush This, a Monster Truck podcast. This Back Channel Productions program is brought to you in part by RPM Army. For a wide array of content from across the motorsports world, visit rpmarmy.com. Your high-performance fix on the go.
Welcome back to Little Doo Mud Bog in Newport, North Carolina. We're getting ready now for our modified class. Any motor size allowed, no nitrous, no power adders, and this is an uncut DOT class. First up, a guy we've already seen make a couple passes, Chris Keaton. Moving across those ruts, a 3.64 with a 6, so a solid run to open the class. Get another look at it. They're going to be fighting those ruts. I'm going to keep mentioning it throughout the day. The starting line's very dry. You don't really hit slop until about maybe a quarter of the way into the track, but if you can stay on top of it, you'll be in good shape. It is to your benefit, though, to maybe get to the right of those ruts, and here's a guy who had just that in mind, Gavin McCroy out of Palmetto, South Carolina in Purple Haze. Going after a 3.64 with a 6. Good enough. Nice straight pass. A 3.63 with a 7 to take number 1 here in the modified class. So a little tire change and a go on the starting line. Kept to that right-hand side of the track and again made a nice straight run. He's running really in his own ruts over there. He was the only one who took to that lane. And he had a nice flat spot to go across. It was like driving on a highway. Up next, Jeremy Smith back at it. Your runner-up in the previous class, now going for the top spot and still no problem. Shooting for a 3.63 with a 7, 3.35 with a 1, and look at the top-end charge. Good crowd on hand here. Look, he went all the way down to the hay bales. Look, he might have matted one over there. That's what they're down there for, keep you from going into the pines and the palms. Goes off the end again. He was on the right-hand side of that track as well. He got down into Gavin's ruts and actually started to pull him back toward the middle of the pit. He may have just made a very interesting track for the man behind him, but a good run nonetheless. It doesn't matter. He ends up in the number 1 spot with a time it's going to be very hard to beat. Here comes Eddie Baylor now out of Southport. Nice run, a 3.42 with a 6 as he got out of shape at the end of the run. And he runs also in the unlimited class. He's the only competitor in that class, but he's been racing for a long time. He used to run an old rail called Awesome Orange. You'll look at this thing. Big old honking front end on that S10. Look at him digging though, and man, did he make an interesting ride through those wide tires. Did not like bouncing in and out of those ruts, and heads up to the man down at the finish line there. I'm not sure I'd be standing in that spot, but he got an interesting view of the end of that run as we're going to drop one Chris Keaton from this session, come right back at it with Gavin McCroy in session 2. Well, he got out of shape and just took out our cameraman. He just showered down the crowd on the left-hand side of the track with sandy mud. Those are the good seats over there. Somebody's going to need a car wash after that. Well, watch what happens. Now, I said he's been running his own ruts over there. Well, the 2 guys that went after him ruined that side of the track, and it looks like he went right where Eddie did, got into Eddie's ruts, and that pulled the back end of the truck around. Look at this. The Lexus next to us is looking a little worse for wear. Here comes Jeremy Smith. 3.33. Look at that. Goes to number 1. Didn't want to wait for us to reset. He was ready to go. He didn't care about everybody clearing out the cobwebs over here on the left-hand side of the track, man. He was, look at him. He got up on top of McCroy's berms where in between his ruts. He straddled McCroy's ruts. That worked out perfectly. Back on the line, Eddie Baylor in the stepchild. Again, a little bit of a wild ride, not like his first session, not going to matter. Look at that, he ends up in second place with a 3.36. So Eddie Baylor taking home a little money between a legal couple runs in the unlimited class and runner-up here in the modified class. He's looking good here this afternoon. He has to be happy with that. Good showing for him. And the stepchild, he'll walk out of here with a little bit of money. Jeremy Smith walking away with number 1 and still no problem with the 333. Then a 336 for Baylor puts him into second place. Of course, a 363 for Gavin McRoy and a 364 for Chris Keaton, who only ran in session number 1. As we get a little cleanup figured out here, I feel bad for this guy. He had his rear hatch open. I think that mud went all the way through his vehicle and out the front window. Stay with us. More to come from Newport. Welcome back to Newport, North Carolina, hometown for Little Doo Mud Bog. Little Doo himself out here. We want to thank Scotty McNamara and crew for the hospitality and the invite as we get ready for the small tire Renegades. Any motor size goes, single carb, no aluminum blocks. The engine's got to be within 6 inches of the stock location and no power adders. And here in the small tire, 38.5 DOT is the max. First up, Chris Keaton in Resurrection. 3.8 on that run as he steps out a little bit on the rear end, getting it shut down. He was moving to open up this small tire Renegade class. He's been looking good here today. That Ford is definitely getting the job done. Here, Little Doo, you see he found a soft spot right there as this afternoon's going on. They're starting to mix the water and sand back together. The pit's getting sloppier and sloppier as the day goes on. It's going to get interesting because the classes are actually starting to slow down. Up next, Ronnie Lee Garner from right down the road here in Newport. This awesome-looking Lone Ranger. You see him resetting the steering wheel there. Get things straightened out on the starting line. He chooses to straddle the ruts. We'll see if that works out for him, chasing a 3.808 second elapsed time. It's a nice straight run, but he sank about a foot off the starting line. It is some very soft sand. As I said, that moisture is starting to come back up into that starting line sand, making it super soft on the starting line. As here comes Grumpy in Not a Problem from right here in Newport. Started racing here at Little Doo back in 1993. Took a little break, but now he's back, and I absolutely love these little S10s. See if he can get the job done here, chasing a 3.80. It's a good run, but it's not going to be enough. Of 4.175 for Not a Problem. And Grumpy from here in Little Doo. And speaking of Little Doo, here's the man himself, Scotty McNamara, coming out to stage in bad company. Take one more look at the run that Not a Problem just laid down, and you'll see he chose to run in the ruts. Kind of moved across him there at the end, but you can see how sloppy the pit's starting to get in the middle. It's going to get boggier and boggier as the afternoon goes on. The namesake of Little Doo runs a 4.57 with a 7. Get another look at it here, and again, that starting line is getting softer and softer, and they're really starting to dig in. You can see him, though, once he gets the front end up on top, he can kind of force his way through there. You can dig with the rear tires. You don't want the front end to drop. As we bring another S10 out to the line, this is the Mud Rat, Caleb Bresnell out of Mechanicsville, Virginia. Bit hesitant on the start. He sank quick, and that hurt his time. Runs a 9.53 with the Mud Rat, although Definitely turn the crowd on. They love that mudslinging. Here's an awesome looking machine, the big Dodge out of Quinton, Virginia. This is Robert Webb, the Mudder Trucker. Four with a 5, and no one has touched Chris Keaton thus far in Resurrection. I think Chris drew probably the best this track is going to be for this class, and maybe for the remainder of the afternoon in terms of these guys trying to speed over this mud, as the track is actually getting so soupy the ruts are going away. So it'll make things interesting. Here comes Bad Company again. No, that's not Scotty McNamara. That is Tabby Stamper, Scotty's sister. She's been racing for a very long time. The one they call Tabby Cat crosses the line at a 4.56 with a 5. Right on pace with Scotty, so the truck is consistent. Doesn't matter who's driving it. That's a good sign for this vehicle for the remainder of the afternoon, because this is not the only class they're running in, but here at their home track, the track named for them, and things looking good. Look at the rear end come off the ground. She comes across the line there. There's definitely a notable end to this pit, and there's definitely a beginning as these guys nose down into the pair of ruts on the line. Here comes Bennett Rose from right here in Newport. Hooking ain't easy. 95 Chevy short bed. Getting right down in those ruts. You give a little extra there to get out at the end. Nice run for Bennett Rose. 7.159. Take a look at the times after session 1. Chris Keaton leading in Resurrection at a 3.80. And it's Grumpy and Not a Problem at 4.17 with a 5. Tabby Stamper, Scotty McNamara, and Mudder Trucker Robert Webb rounding out the top 5. Here comes Keaton back to the line in Resurrection. We had to hammer down on that one, a 4.05, so you can tell the track's getting slower because he didn't even touch his own time. It was off his own pace there as we take another look at it. That was not a bad run again. Just losing traction in the pit as the day goes on. It's also getting a little warmer out here. It's getting a little more humid. So we get a look now at Lone Ranger. Ronnie Lee Garner running a 4.98 with a 7. I have my doubts right now that anybody is going to touch that 3.80. Chris Keaton might be safely secured in the victory spot as Grumpy rolls out. Here comes Not a Problem. Take a look now at the run of Lone Ranger one more time, and you can see, again, looked like he was actually trying to stay out of those ruts. Didn't have to worry about him once he got down there. Keep in mind, though, as they fill in with the soupier mud, there are still ruts underneath of what looks like a very smooth surface that'll throw these guys around. As you can see right now, they're having problems just getting into the beams because the trucks are sinking forward into the sand. Hang time on that one for Grumpy, a 4.16 with an 8. Betters his own time. So that will hold him, I believe, there in second place as he was chasing that 3.80. The only time faster than that we just saw is the 4.05 that Resurrection ran 2 passes ago, not beating his own time. So the 3.80 will stand. Grumpy maintains second place right now with that 4.16. See if anybody can get past that. Again, I don't think they're passing that 3.80. Scotty McNamara rolls back out here in his hometown and his home track. Bad Company. interesting ride across the finish line, and he slowed down to 463. So he's still going to be looking for something as he just ran. Well, slowing down is going to put him still in 4th place as of right now as I look at the leaderboard currently. So we update this as we go. It was a good run. Again, the pit is just getting heavier and it's getting slower. Now you want the pit to be a little bit heavy, but you want it to be heavier a little earlier. Get up on top of it, sort of float the pit as Mudrat comes back out. Caleb Presnell out of Mechanicsville, Virginia. Bettered his own time now, a 7:06 with a 7. He ran a 9:53 in the first session, so that's going to help him out. Mutter Trucker already back on the line. Through the lights, Robert Webb with a 490 with a 5 in Mutter Trucker. He will push himself back into 5th place more solidly as the crowd looks on. Here comes Tabby Stamper back to the line, part of the McNamara family. See if she can hang on to 3rd. Getting airborne at the finish line, and you talk about consistency. She ran a 4:56 with a 5 in the first session, just ran a 4:59 with a 5 in that session, and look at her sink in there in the right rear. That pit is just throwing them wherever it wants to now. That's what the Mudbug fans come out to see. Look at that whole thing get up off the ground. As I said, there is a definitive end to this pit. Bennett Rose now back on the line, and hooking ain't easy. Waiting on the time. Not getting one right now. I'm not sure if it didn't. I'm not sure if he didn't get a time or what happened there. He ran a 7:15 in the first session. As we look at the final results here, Chris Keaton hanging on to that #1 spot. First run in the class at that 3:80. And it's Grumpy at a 4:16. Tabby Stamper, Scotty McNamara, and Robert Webb rounding out the field. They're going to clean the clocks, and we'll be back with more action. A lot more to go from here in Little Doo. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, welcome to Wild Man Adventures. Heard the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out of.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter.
Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo.
Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
Back at Little Doo Mud Bog, Newport, North Carolina, getting ready for the big tire Renegade class, the 3rd and final Renegade class of the evening. We told you the rules already. The only difference here is a tire size. You can go above 38 inches, 39 and up. Accepted, still DOT uncut tires. Pretty in pink, opening the class. Got in some trouble there, but still moving a 5.78 with a 4. That is slow for this class, so we'll see Only 2 vehicles in the Big Tire Renegade class. Look at him. Opted to run out of the ruts, got into some soup and started going sideways, coming back toward the left bank, had to pedal that vehicle, and that slowed him down as Jeremy Smith gets ready to come out now and still no problem. Backing into the timing lights. He hammered it off the starting line. That was a very interesting run for the big green Chevy. 339 with a 1. Enveloped in a cloud of dust on the end of the track. Watch him slam the rear end when he comes in. A nice spray of dry sand. Then once he gets in that soup, he's kind of fighting it back to the right all the way down there. Man, he got airborne at the end of the track. It may not have looked like much, but he was up there as Pretty in Pink comes back to the line. Now running back over on the left-hand side of the track, trying to see if it's getting better over there now. Well, it looks like he got close to 368 with a 4, but Jeremy Smith looks like he's going to hang on in that number 1 spot. He will not make a second pass, it looks like, in light of that fact. So that 339 with a 1 for Jeremy Smith will take the victory in the Big Tire Renegade class, and the 368 with a 4 will go runner-up here in a shortened Big Tire Renegade class. Get ready to go now in the small tire modified class. Up to 36-inch tires allowed. Steel heads only. No aluminum heads in this class. No aluminum blocks in this class. That right there is what these crowds come to see. Might not be the sloppiest pit ever. It's real sandy today, but a 12.283 second elapsed time for Bennett Rose from right here in Newport. Up next, Austin Meadows out of Stella, North Carolina, and Old Yeller. He drove way past the end of the pit, but lays down a 10.938 second run, so he'll go into the number 1 spot. Finally, Shelly Hankins out of Jacksonville, North Carolina, part of a husband and wife team in this beautiful Chevrolet called Liberty. It's just 3 big old Chevys mangling the mud. The Skeleton's getting a nice workout in the shutdown area of 15.27 as Bennett Rose comes back to the line. We found a quick spot through that pit. Look at that, an 8.60. So the short wheelbase Chevy late model machine will move to the number 1 spot convincingly now as Austin Meadows comes back out of Stella. Remember I said the slop is filling in the ruts that are underneath of there? That's what happens when you cross them up and then find the deep ones. He got the housing hung up on the berm underneath the mud now as Shelly Hankins comes back out of Jacksonville in Liberty to close out the class, chasing an 8.606. Betters her own time as a Skeleton chatters on in the bed. 14.5 on that run right there. As we look at our final results, a convincing win by Bennett Rose and Hookin' Ain't Easy. The 8.606 second run. And it's Austin Meadows' solid effort in Old Yeller. Take nothing away from any of these machines. That's what the crowd comes to see. Some good old-fashioned mud bogging at 10.93, and rounding out the field, Shelly Hankins at a 14.5. Now as Robert Webb comes back out, Mutter Trucker. This is the small block class. Should be getting going a little faster now. Back into the single digits right there. A 5.27 with a 7 for Robert Webb. Beautiful pass. Up next, Russell Brock chasing a tough time right there. This is Randall Moyer's Jeep Wrangler. We'll see Randall out in a little bit. He'll be driving this and another vehicle in this class, but Russell at the wheel of this machine right now for the first pass of this session. And that thing looks awesome, skipping across the mud, always broken. Out of New Bern, North Carolina, a 5.22 with a 5 to move to number 1. Here comes Grumpy again, and not a problem. Straight into the number 1 spot at a 4.41. Found some speed over here on the left-hand side of the pit as they're closing in on this left wall. Eddie Baylor took out one of the track markers a little earlier for them in the Unlimited class. Gave him a little extra room to play with in the middle of the pit there as he moves into the number 1 spot. Here comes Mary Meadows now and Old Yeller. $14.5. Now what they were looking for is the sister of Austin Meadows. Goes to the bottom of the class, and sunk to the bottom of the pit. But again, the crowd loves it. Now we're going to take a look at a run that happened a little earlier. Remember, we said this was Randall Moyer's Jeep. Well, there's Randall Moyer at the wheel, and there's Russell getting him lined up. Watch what happens here. Lost power very, very quickly, so hopefully they'll figure out what happened there, and it won't happen again now as Randall Moyer comes back to the line in the Riddler. Randall from right here in Newport. It's a brand new build. Awesome run for the Riddler. 4.520. Just a little bit off of Grumpy right there. Another look at the run, man. Getting tossed around that pit. Look at that right there. He found a rut, just blew right through it. That Comanche was moving. You can see that thing coming a mile away, even in all this greenery. Here comes Hank Hankins now, the husband of the husband and wife team in Liberty. Big swampers digging right through that mud as the jaw flaps on the skeleton in the race seat. Jacksonville, North Carolina's Hank Hankins, 6.25 with an 8. Here comes Caleb Bresnell back to the line in Mud Rat. Another black S10. Again, some of my favorite vehicles in the sport are these S10s. Short wheelbase, light. .634, not as fast as the upper echelon of the class right now, but an impressive run nonetheless for Caleb Presnell. You're going to come right back around, re-rack him. Robert Webb is back on the line to start session 2. Well, he was battling with some ruts about a foot off the line, but still runs a 5.04. So he betters his own time as Russell Brock comes back out of New Bern, North Carolina in Always Broken. This Randall Moyer's Jeep back on the line again. See if he can pick up some time. Chasing a 4.41 of Grumpy. Moving quick in the big red Jeep. Runs a 4.93. And it goes quiet on him again. He has to refire it over there on the other end of the track. Look at them all getting bounced around in these ruts now as the temperature starts to cool back down. As the sun goes down, the pit consistency is actually starting to change as the moisture falls in the air. Speaking of Grumpy, here he comes back to the line and not a problem. See if he can keep himself solidly in number one. And they're all getting a workout on that starting line of 4.80. So he will not better his own time. He'll hang on in that number one spot, though, for the moment with that 4.41 that he laid down earlier. Here comes Mary Meadows out of Stella, North Carolina, and Old Yeller. She found a very heavy spot in that pit, 30.901, as Randall Moyer comes back out. We did not have to tow her out. Nothing to be ashamed of there. She put on a show. Not going to get in the money tonight, but still. Boy, he was in trouble about 5 feet off the starting line as he lost rear-wheel drive, and there's no way you're going to use your front wheels to tug the back-end weight of a truck through this pit. But he's about to find out who his real friends are. He needs somebody to come fish him out. Looks like Russell Brock still likes him plenty. Come down and give him a helping hand. He's going to get the truck out while Randall goes and suits up because he's got to jump it behind the wheel of his Jeep. Make his final pass of the evening. You can see him get bounced around right there off the starting line. I think it just tore the rear drive shaft out. It does look like that's what they're looking at right now as they've towed the truck up off the end of the track, and Russell Brock's gone and fished the drive shaft out. You see right there. Randall, by the way, back on the starting line, about to make another run in the Jeep. .242. He's right on par with Russell Brock's first run. Brock, though, ran a 4.80 in the second session, so he's going to head back over and get Hank Hankins staged up on the line now. Hank ran a 6.25 in session one. See Russell giving him a helping hand. Solid run, a 6.80. He's not going to better his own time, and he took the long way through the pit when he moved all the way from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, but didn't get himself bogged down too bad now as Caleb Presnell rounds out the class here in the Mud Rat. Well, the pit is most definitely thick right now as he will not better the time. Take a look at the top five here. Grumpy taking the number one spot, followed by Randall Moyer, Russell Brock, Robert Webb, and Randall Moyer. So Randall in good company with himself there in the top five as we bring out our final pair of machines now in the Big Tire Mod Street class. Here comes Jeff Stamper, brother-in-law of Scotty McNamara, now in Not Your Hot Wheels. Little problem off the starting line. You can look at the trouble he had and realize that truck has a lot more in it. Something happened to him about a foot off the line, and it hurt his run big time as he gets back in the throttle there. Hank Hankins coming back to the line now in Liberty out of Jacksonville, North Carolina. Chasing a 698. Blows into the number 1 spot, a 678 with a 1. Nice run for the big Chevrolet out of Jacksonville, North Carolina. We're going to bring Jeff Stamper back around to close things up here for the evening. Final run of the evening for us here, a 646 with a 3 for Jeff Stamper. So he will take the number 1 spot out of this class as the sun starts to set behind the hollows here, behind the Pine Barrens, as we want to thank Little Doo, Scotty McNamara, the whole family, everybody down here in Newport for their hospitality. Great people down here, and hope to be back next year with even more coverage from right here at Little Doo. And there's a look at your top finishers for the evening. A big congratulations to all the winners here tonight. And don't forget, they also had a 4 and 6 cylinder class here as well. You got to come out and see it live, though. Awesome people, awesome place, great food. We'll see you next time.